Instead, we are entering a much smaller, much louder, and often a much more chaotic football world. A place where the field is surrounded by walls, where receivers can sprint towards the line of scrimmage before the ball is snapped, where a missed field goal can bounce off a net and return directly into play, and where a comfortable lead can disappear in only a few minutes. Tonight we are discussing the history, the rules, the personality, and the unforgettable spectacle of the Arena Football League. And while we explore this unique chapter of professional football history, we'll be playing Arena Football Road to Glory. During the height of the league's national popularity, so lower the lights, get comfortable, and prepare for football inside the arena. At first glance, arena football looks familiar. There is still a quarterback. There are receivers, linemen, defenders, touchdowns, field goals, and turnovers. But once the game begins, the difference becomes impossible to ignore. A regulation arena football field is only 50 yards long, with 8-yard end zones, and a playing surface approximately 85 feet wide. That creates a field about half the length and considerably narrower than the ones used in the National Football League. Each team traditionally places 8 players on the field rather than 11. The shortened dimensions brings everyone closer together. The quarterback is closer to the end zone, the defenders have less ground to cover, and the walls are always waiting. There is no traditional sideline along much of the field. A ball carrier can be driven into a padded barrier only a few feet from the spectators. The result is a sport that feels like football and hockey all compressed into one enclosed space. The original arena game also became famous for its rebound nets, positioned beside the goalpost. A missed kick or kickoff could strike off one of those nets and return into the field of play. The ball was not necessarily dead. Players had to react to an unpredictable bounce as the crowd stood only yards away. It transformed special teams into something resembling a live ball scramble. No relaxing after the kick, no assuming the play was finished. The game was designed to keep moving. The idea came from Jim Foster, a former National Football League executive. In 1981, Foster attended an indoor soccer game at Madison Square Garden. While watching the action unfold inside the arena, he began imagining how American football might work in the same environment. The idea was simple, but ambitious. Take football, move it indoors, reduce the size, increase the speed, and design rules specifically for the building. It could not simply be outdoor football played beneath a roof. It needed its own identity, its own rhythm, and its own spectacle. Foster spent years developing the concept. He experimented with field dimensions, formations, equipment, and the rebound nets that would become one of the sport's most recognizable features. The Arena Football League eventually began play in 1987. The first season was small. Only 4 teams participated. The Pittsburgh Gladiators, Denver Dynamite, Washington Commandos, and Chicago Bruisers. It was not a polished national institution. It was an experiment. But it was an experiment with energy. Fans were close to the field. The scores were high. The collisions were loud. And the unusual rules made nearly every possession feel dangerous. The Denver Dynamite won the first ArenaBowl, defeating Pittsburgh to become the league's original champion. The foundation had been established. Arena football was live. Traditional football often rewards patience, possessions and a few minutes of game time. The sport encourages aggression. Quarterbacks attack vertically. Receivers use the wall as boundaries and sometimes as obstacles. Defenders must react inside an extremely confined space. And coaches understood that settling for a conservative decision may simply give the opposing offense another opportunity to score. This is why arena football games often feel more like races than battles for field position. The objective is not always to slowly establish control. Sometimes the objective is simply to keep scoring until the clock finally reaches 0. One of the most visually distinctive rules involves the receiver in motion. Before the snap, one offensive receiver may begin moving towards the line of scrimmage, not sideways as usually seen in outdoor football, forward. The receiver can build speed before the play officially begins. When the timing is perfect, the receiver crosses the line of scrimmage and at almost full acceleration, the instant the ball is snapped. For a defensive back, this can be terrifying. There is little space to retreat. The receiver already has momentum, and the quarterback may release the ball almost immediately. In the video game, you can see how quickly this changes in offensive possession. A play that looks well defended can suddenly open up when the motion receiver bursts through the secondary. The rules create constant movement before the snap. The arena feels alive even while the quarterback is calling the play. Another important part of the league's identity was the concept of Ironman football. During much of the original AFL's history, many players were expected to contribute on both offense and defense. A wide receiver might also play defensive back. A fullback might also line up as a linebacker. The same athlete who caught a touchdown pass could return the next possession and attempt to make a tackle. This connected arena football to an older era of the sport. Before it completely transformed professional rosters, football players were often expected to remain in the field. Arena football revived part of that tradition. It also made conditioning extremely important. The field may have been smaller, but the workload could be enormous. Players sprinted, collided, blocked, and then did it again without spending an entire series on the bench. Later versions of the league relaxed many of the substitution restrictions and allowed greater specialization. But Ironman football remained a powerful part of the Arena League mythology. As the league grew, certain franchises developed strong identities. The Tampa Bay Storm became one of arena football's most successful organizations. The Arizona Rattlers built a passionate following and became a consistent championship contender. The Orlando Predators developed an intense rivalry with Tampa Bay, known as the War on I-4. The San Jose SaberCats, Iowa Barnstormers, Chicago Rush, and Grand Rapids Rampage all left their own mark. There were also franchises connected to major NFL personalities. The Dallas Desperados were associated with the Dallas Cowboys owner Jerry Jones. The Colorado Crush included ownership involvement from former Denver Broncos quarterback John Elway. And in Philadelphia, the Soul became one of the league's most recognizable teams, with musician John Bon Jovi as part of the ownership group. For Philadelphia football fans, the Soul offered something special. The city already possessed a deep, almost spiritual connection to football. The Eagles dominated conversation throughout the fall and winter, but the Soul brought the indoor game into the spring and summer. They gave Philadelphia fans another team to support, another championship to chase, and another reason to fill an arena wearing blue, silver, and black. The Soul eventually became The smaller field created opportunities, but it also demanded quick decisions. Pass rushers did not need to travel very far to reach the quarterback. Windows opened and closed almost instantly. A quarterback needed accuracy, anticipation, courage, and an understanding of how passes could travel inside a condensed field. Among the sport's most celebrated players was Aaron Garcia. Garcia became known as one of arena football's great quarterbacks and eventually surpassed one of 1,000 career touchdown passes. Quarterbacks did not always receive the national recognition given to NFL stars, but inside the arena football world, they were legends. They mastered a game with its own geometry, a different sense of timing, and a scoring pace that could overwhelm anyone who hesitated. The most famous player to pass the Arena Football League was undoubtedly Kurt Warner. Before becoming an NFL Most Valuable Player, a Super Bowl champion, and a member of the Pro Football Hall of Fame, Warner played for the Iowa Barnstormers. His path had become one of professional football's greatest stories. Warner was not selected in the NFL draft. He worked at a grocery store while attempting to keep his football dream alive. The Arena League gave him a place to develop. In Iowa, he learned to make fast reads, deliver the ball under pressure, and trust his receivers inside extremely tight windows. Arena football was not simply a novelty in Warner's journey. It was an important classroom. The game's speed helped shape the skills that would later define his NFL career. Warner's success also gave the Arena Football League a powerful symbol. Every overlooked player could look at his story and believe that another opportunity might still exist. The arena could be a destination, but it could also be a doorway. That doorway was important because football produces far more talented players than NFL can employ. Every year, college athletes finish their careers without being drafted. Veterans are released. Players recover from injuries. Others simply need more game film and another chance to be noticed. The Arena Football League provided that chance. The salaries were far below those offered in the NFL. The travel could be difficult. Franchises occasionally struggled financially, and job security was limited. But the game was professional football. The players trained, competed, performed, and built relationships with fans. For some, arena football became a path toward another league. For others, it became the highest level they would reach. Neither story made the competition less meaningful. Inside the arena, the hits were real, the preparation was real, and the desire to win was unmistakable. Over time, the AFL grew far beyond its 14 beginning. By the 2000s, the league had major market franchises, recognizable stars, corporate sponsors, and national television coverage. Games appeared on networks including NBC, ESPN, NFL Network. For a time, arena football appeared ready to establish itself as a permanent spring and summer companion to the NFL. The league reached 19 teams during the 2000 season. That same period produced the game we are playing tonight, Arena Football Road to Glory. It followed the first EA Sports Arena Football game released 1 year earlier. The cover featured Chicago Rush fullback and linebacker Bob McMillan, whose team had won an Arena Bowl. Road to Glory included the AFL and also featured the development league known as AF2. For players who were accustomed to Madden, the game felt familiar but different. The controls, the formations, and the general presentation shared EA Sports DNA. But the 50-yard field, 4 a digital time capsule. For our gameplay tonight, the Philadelphia Soul, our natural choice. The game was released before Philadelphia won its first ArenaBowl. At that time, the Soul were still building their identity. They played inside the same passionate sports culture that surrounds the Eagles, Flyers, Sixers, and Phillies. But arena football offered a different atmosphere. It was smaller, faster, and more intimate. The crowd was not separated from the field by enormous distances. Fans could see the expressions on the players' faces. They could hear the communication near the wall. And when a player was driven into the barrier, the first row filmed the collision. Playing with the Soul in Road to Glory allows us to return to that era. An era when the franchise was still chasing the championship success that would later define him. Every season led toward the ArenaBowl. The name was theatrical but appropriate. The championship game represented everything its league wanted to become. Bright lights, loud crowds, national attention. And a game with almost no guarantee of remaining predictability. Because arena football produced so many possessions and so many points, championship games could change very quickly. A turnover near the goal line might swing the entire contest. A recovered kick off the rebound net could create an unexpected touchdown. And a defensive stop, which might seem routine in an outdoor football, could feel enormous inside the arena. When almost every drive is expected to end with points, one stop can become the difference between victory and defeat. That is one of the beautiful contradictions of arena football. It is known for offense, but because scoring is so common, defense becomes even more valuable. Despite its growth, the Arena Football League was never completely secure. Operating a professional sports league is expensive. Teams must pay players, coaches, arena rental, travel, insurance, marketing, and administrative costs. National television exposure helped, but it did not automatically create financial stability. Some franchises relocated, others changed ownership, several disappeared completely. The worldwide financial crisis near the end of the 2000s placed additional pressure on the league. The AFL suspended its 2009 season, and the original operating entity eventually entered bankruptcy. For many fans, it appeared that arena football's largest stage had vanished. But the story was not over. A reorganized version of the Arena Football League returned in 2010. Some familiar teams came back, new franchises joined, and for several years the league continued to deliver the fast, high-scoring game its fans remembered. But the old problems never completely disappeared. Franchises continued to fold or relocate. The national footprint became smaller. By 2018, only 4 teams remained. The league expanded to 6 teams for the 2019 season, but after the campaign, the AFL ceased operations and filed for bankruptcy. The Philadelphia Soul had appeared in the final ArenaBowl, losing to the Albany Empire in what became the last championship game of that version of the league. After more than 3 decades across 2 major runs, the original Arena Football League story appeared to have reached its conclusion. But sport ideas can be difficult to bury. The Arena Football League name returned again in 2024 with a new group of teams and new leadership. That revival generated excitement, but also experienced serious organizational turmoil. Teams disappeared, schedules changed, and questions emerged about finances and league management. Following that turbulent season, several organizations moved forward under another identity known as Arena Football 1 or AF1. AF1 began play in 2025 and continues tradition of 8-player indoor arena football. It is not the exact same organization that existed during the classic AFL era, but it demonstrates that the sport itself still has an audience and still inspires owners, players, and communities to keep trying. It would be easy to judge the Arena Football League only by its financial struggles. The bankruptcies, the relocations, the shortened seasons, and the failed franchises are all part of the story. The league lasted far longer than most alternative professional football organizations. It created memorable teams, loyal fan bases, championship traditions, and opportunities for thousands of players, coaches, officials, and staff members. It also created a form of football that was genuinely different, not merely a smaller NFL, not simply an imitation. Arena football had its own rules, its own strategies, and its own culture. It gave players an authentic league with real teams, real uniforms, and rules that could not be found in the standard NFL experience. Perhaps the best way to understand arena football is through sound. The quarterback's cadence echoing beneath the roof, the crowd rising as the motion receiver sprints forward, and music filling every moment between play. An arena football game was not designed to feel distant or quiet. It was designed to surround you. The sport borrowed the intimacy of hockey, the scoring pace of basketball, and the physicality of football. The Arena Football League was exciting, imperfect, and unpredictable. It survived expansion, bankruptcy, and reinvention. At its peak, it brought professional football to cities that were hungry for the sport. It helped Kurt Warner prepare for one of the greatest underdog stories in sports history. It gave Philadelphia the soul. The league's history does not follow a smooth, straight line. It falls, disappears, and returns under new forms. But perhaps that makes arena football even more appropriate. Because this has always been a game built around unexpected bounces. The ball strikes the net, it returns the field, and the play continues. I thank you for spending a little time with me tonight as we explored the fast, loud, and fascinating world of arena football. I hope this story and gameplay helped you relax, while also bringing back a few memories of one of football's most unique leagues. Maybe you remember watching the games on television. Maybe your city once had an arena league team. Or perhaps arena football, Road to Glory, was your introduction to the sport. In the comments, let me know which arena football league team you would choose for your own Road to Glory. If you enjoy this relaxing story about sports, or other stories about gaming, history, entertainment, please consider subscribing to Pixels Playbooks ASMR. There are many more forgotten leagues, classic games, legendary athletes, and fascinating stories still waiting for us to explore.